There are reasons we have people come in studio, and that is because generally most people know more about subjects we talk about than I do, and that's the case with the two gentlemen joining us this morning. First of all, we want to mention Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn is in studio with us, as well as, of course, Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense, and we're going to be talking a little gun talk this morning. First of all, I want to welcome you both back.
Good to
Uh,
be here.
Good to be here. If we survived the journey.
you did.
Yeah.
You sound great, by the way, Todd. You sound like.
Oh man, I'm in a Tylenol-induced coma right now.
It's going around, so people are going to have to deal with that for at least a couple more months. Cold season is well upon us. 7 minutes after 9 o'clock, you're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com, and we're at 26. Right off the top, a woman dropped me a note, listens to the show apparently every week, dropped me a note the other day, and we have been talking last week briefly about this case in Arizona where a trooper was fighting with a fellow in the middle of the road who attacked him, and a bystander ended up shooting and killing the attacker. But there's some circumstances about this that the woman wanted to bring up that we have to make clear. You just can't come running up at a scene in that situation. You got to be careful about how you go about it, right?
Yeah, you don't want to you don't want to run in guns blazing, gun drawn, because there's other officers on the scene. If there's even other armed civilians, and they see somebody running up on a police officer with a gun drawn, you people don't know what. People are just evaluating the situation based on what's happening in front of them. That pedestrian did the right thing. They stopped their car. They got out. They asked the officer, "Do you need assistance?"
Mm-hmm.
To which the officer replied, "Yes." At that point, the person went back to their vehicle, retrieved their gun, and rendered what assistance was necessary. It was deemed, this guy's beating the police officer's head off the concrete. It was deemed that they needed to use lethal force. But that's not always the case. You need to make sure that the police know you're there, they know your intentions before you do that. If police are on scene, it's generally the best thing to stand back and let them do their jobs.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, though, just the fact that he got it cleared by the police officer, even as the officer is getting his head beat on the ground, it was obviously an important aspect to this.
Right. And in this situation, this involved police officers. Some situations do not. And you always want to be careful how you inject yourself into situations because you don't know the full story. Two guys are fighting. You don't know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. You go over there with a gun to try to break it up, try to help whoever you think is the right person, and you could be totally mistaken. You don't know. So you need to think about this stuff ahead of time. You may not know the full story. Sometimes it's better to be a good witness and dial the phone.
Well, when we talk about training, we talk a lot about just going to the range, but there's a classroom portion of it, and that's to deal with all of this.
Well, yeah, and we talk about different scenarios that you can be in. We talk about defensive mindset, decisions that you need to make now ahead of time before you have to use your gun for self defense. Stuff you need to think about. Are you carrying a gun to protect everyone? Are you carrying a gun to protect yourself or just your family? What would you do in this scenario? What would you do if you were in a gas station and some guy came in with a gun? Would you go ahead and be the superhero and try to take the guy out, or would you slip out the door if you got the chance and dial 911 and make sure your family who was in the car was safe? You have to think about this stuff ahead of time right now.
Yeah. The other aspect to it is a lot of people when they get their permit or they start carrying a gun, they want to intervene. They want to become Spider-Man and be in the
Yep.
middle of every situation. We have law enforcement do that, and they do a fabulous job at that. You got to realize most police officers in their career, most police officers will never use their weapon in the line of duty. So as a civilian, if you're expecting every day to be getting the bad guys with your gun, you're probably going to end up in jail sooner than the bad guys are. So that weapon is to be carried to defend yourself, to defend your family, and when a situation arises. Don't get caught, going to the other extreme either, because the laws, the justice system is there to make sure everybody has a fair trial. It's not the old west.
Don't go looking for it. Your permit doesn't make you Superman. Just because you have a handgun and you're licensed to carry it does not mean that you need to look for ways to use it.
And even in this case, in Arizona, this is a dangerous situation because you've got to be very clear that you're not going to hit the wrong person if they're wrestling on the ground.
Exactly. And you had a defined good guy, bad guy. You had a uniformed police officer with a guy on top of him, and police officers asking for help. If you come upon a situation and you don't know who's who, maybe there. I mean, in Cleveland, there was a really unfortunate event with police officers. A 13-year-old kid playing with a toy gun.
Mm-hmm.
Police officers probably should have taken a little more time to evaluate what's going on. They rolled up on the scene, jumped out of the car. The kid turned around with a gun pointed at him. They shot him, and then after the fact, they find out, oh, this is a kid carrying a gun. Now, police officers do it right almost every time, but that's one situation where probably with a little more watching what was going on, they could have determined what was going on.
What would have happened in that? Is it Arizona, right? What would happen in Arizona had other law enforcement officers rolled up, and there's a law enforcement officer on the ground fighting with this other guy, and then there's a guy standing over the top of him with his gun drawn. That's something to think of too. So you're always running a little bit of a risk.
There's that
How does that look?
that kid in Cleveland had such a realistic toy, and he was a big kid.
Yeah.
So he looked adult, and that's another problem that is complicating this is that so many of these toys look like the real thing any longer.
We don't even sell at my shop. We won't even sell like BB guns for that reason, because we don't sell airsoft guns. We don't sell BB guns because kids use those. I used to run around with them. I mean, I used to put one in my belt and ride it on my bike. It's a different time today, and so we don't even sell them because we would feel horrible if we sold a kid a gun. We got some great kids in our little neighborhood. Like yesterday, a kid shows up. We have kids come looking for work, not asking for money. They're like, do you have any work I can do? I need to earn some money for church camp, or I want to buy a video game from you. They come looking for opportunities to earn money. And they want to spend their money. That BB pistol looks fun. Mine was a ton of fun, but I would hate for one to ever get in a kid's hand and then have them get in an unfortunate situation. So we don't even sell them for that one reason.
Got about 13 minutes after 9 o'clock, and right now we're still at 26. In studio with us, of course, Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense, Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn, and Bill Cowley as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. Contact information, you referenced the store for people who'd like to drop in, because you've got a lot more than just firearms in there, obviously, too.
Laptops, tools, computers, jewelry. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We can special order any gun out there, ammunition, you name it. We can get anything. I've got one of the $450 AR-15s left. They're coming in today. We sold 15. We ordered 10 more. We pre-sold all of those. We have one of those left. So if somebody wants one of those, show up at the store today. You can prepay for it. It'll be in the freight today. And we got a bunch of AR-15 lower receivers coming in today. It's going to be cheap. Washington Street Pawn, 321 Washington Street, 208-735-0012. You can reach us on Facebook. I'm currently in Facebook jail, but we will find a way to get back to you.
And Todd?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook under Patriot Defense. Go ahead and find us, like the page, and you can stay current on all our classes and all our going-ons. You can text me. You can call me, 620-794-6223. I do have a list of people that I've compiled, and I have a meeting tonight with the people at the range, and I will have a date set for my next class, hopefully tonight, and I will get back to everybody. So,
looking at probably sometime in early February.
yeah, that's the plan anyway.
The weather should be better. You don't have to get the scout out to get everyone there.
I get it out just because I like to, but yeah.
Bill, it should be noted, I drove in from Murtaugh this morning, and the roads are very slick this morning, so drive safe. It's really slick. Right here in town, it's slick.
Yeah, I've been to Jackpot and back already this morning. It was a little slick out earlier.
Did you go through the canyon?
To Jackpot?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking Jarbidge.
Yeah, I didn't go to Jarbidge.
Okay,
no.
I was going to say that one would be a little tougher to get.
If I go to Jarbidge, I don't want to come back. So
we also pointed out that we get questions not just over the telephone. We get them sometimes emailed. The woman the other day sent me the message, I think via Facebook, and sometimes while we're doing the show in real time, you guys are getting comments and questions as well. Is a lot of times it's just someone looking for a little follow up on a discussion that we're having.
Yeah, or it sparks a new, like people will ask me, I've already got 2 questions on my phone this morning. People ask me about guns they want to order. Are they available? And a quick response is there's amazing deals out there. We have the Tauruses again, the ones we sold 600 of last year. They're back, and they're $225 for a double stack 9mm, and they're great guns. They're concealable, they're reliable. We have a lifetime free replacement warranty on all the new guns we sell. I have not seen one of those 600 come back for any reason. So they've been great, and they've had a lot of range time. I'm sure Todd's seen some in his classes, those PT-111s.
Oh yeah, lots of them.
They're great guns. They're reliable. They're small. They're compact. You don't have to spend a fortune. You want to buy a quality firearm, but if you buy them at the right time, you can get some really great deals on them.
And again, I mentioned a long time ago on the show that a friend of mine, he bought a Taurus for his wife because he said it was just perfect for her grip, and it was reliable, it was inexpensive, and so he says for women it's a great firearm to have.
For anybody, I've got a friend that could carry any gun in the world. He's got firearms more expensive than my house in his house, and in his truck he has one of those because you know it's not a $5,000 handgun. It's not $1,000 handgun. It's a $225 handgun that hits the target where you point it, and it operates, and it's reliable. Let's go back to the basics of firearms. What are we looking at? Is it reliable? Is it going to go bang every time I pull a trigger? Yes. Is it accurate? Is it going to hit where it's pointed? Yes. Aesthetically, or ergonomically, does it fit my hand? Yes. Then you can start tackling aesthetics. But those are the first three things you look at: reliability, accuracy, and then ergonomics. And then you can start talking aesthetics after that.
Now, a lot of people who they know they're not necessarily going to use all of these firearms, but they like a variety, and I'm not saying they're collectors because collectors go for a lot of the older firearms too, but a lot of people, you always have a backup, right? I mean, that's just the idea that you find something that you really like, just to, maybe even for fun if you're going out to the range.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people they'll get one gun for their concealed carry. They'll learn how to use it, become familiar with it, and then if they go shoot like on a league or something like that, they'll have another one that they'll do a trigger job on. They'll whatever, but it'll have the same controls, and they can go out and they'll use that when they're competing. Um, so they're familiar with the same gun. I've got lots of handguns. I'm more of a handgun guy than I am a rifle guy, and I got some that I just pull out and shoot at the range. What I think about carrying them? Some of them are too big to actually conceal carry, but I like to take them out and shoot them at the range. I got some for home defense, which are a little larger, and then I got some that I can still carry with. So you got to have a variety to fit every situation, kind of like a holster.
We want to mention just quickly, we've got a short break, and then we've got a few more minutes of the program left today. But at 9:30, we're going to be joining coverage, and I'm checking that. My gosh, there's a lot of people in Washington today. Uh, judging by, we're looking at an overhead shot here, and it looks like a collection, like an ant colony from above. I mean, it's just amazing how that mall fills up. But in the meantime, we're going to have a few more minutes with both Todd and, of course, Forrest on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're at 9:23. We're talking about firearms today. You're listening to News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense joining us, as well as Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn. Bill Colley with you, and I got to move something here on the computer. There's not going to be apparently a quick warm-up today. Well, we're at 27. Might reach the mid-30s before the day is over with, and it might melt some of that ice off. We're down to just about 6 minutes today because of the abbreviation for the inauguration. I jumped into this with a conversation about what happened in Arizona, but I know that the two of you sometimes come in here and you've got some things you wanted to bring up as well. We talked silencers last week. Mainstream media is having a cow about that.
I think that I've made my call. The Safe Hearing Act has been introduced to the Senate. In Idaho, Senator Crapo introduced it, so there's a bill in both houses now.
Mhm.
You need to get on the phone. Me and my employees all made the call. You guys need to get on the phone and make the call. Even if you don't want a suppressor, this is just another little foothold for us as gun owners. So get on the phone, call your senator, call your congressman, tell them get this done in the first 6 months. If they can get this done, it's just another thing that some more rights that we're getting back that have been taken away.
People who complain about ranges, by the way, in their town or neighborhood will not have any complaint any longer if everyone's using a suppressor while they're out at the range, right?
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be as easy as buying a firearm. You walk in, fill
Yeah.
out a 4473, you'll walk out with your suppressor that day. In Europe, it's required. In Norway, in England, in France, Germany, you can't shoot a gun without one because it's noise pollution.
When I go and I buy a new firearm, I go in there and I look for extra magazines and I look for a holster. That's just kind of a package deal what I put together. This goes through, man. I'll add a silencer to that package, suppressor.
Well, now, does it change the way you train people, though? I mean, because you're going to add a little extra weight to the.
They're so light, Bill. My 45 caliber suppressor weighs 6.8 ounces. I mean, they weigh practically nothing. Now, holsters are a different situation.
Yeah.
Now you have a 6 to 8 inch piece attached to the end of your gun. But it's not something that necessarily you would
Do carry with.
carry with, but it's something that when you go train, especially with like an AR-15, they're really loud.
Yeah.
You put one of those, you can shoot without hearing protection. You can actually go out with your family, have more enjoyable. It's actually safer because with hearing protection, it does make you a little bit numb to your surroundings. But if you don't have to wear that, you're much more aware of what's happening around you.
It's not though quite like because in James Bond, it's pew, pew. I mean, it's a little noisier than that.
It's 135 with an AR-15. You're still at 135 decibels. There are certain calibers: 45 ACP, 300 blackout, 22 shorts. You have to be shooting under 1,150 feet per second, preferably under 1,000 feet per second, if you really want, because there's still that sonic boom. It's going to happen anyway. So it doesn't make a movie quiet. There's certain calibers, but the range on those calibers, effective range is, with a 22 shorts, about 45 to 55 yards. With a 45 ACP is about 75 to 100 yards, and with a 300 blackout's about 150 yards. So, these aren't weapons that are going to, with a suppressor, that you're going to have like this really effective long range. For the ones that you still have long range, you'll still be going to ultrasonic. You'll still be getting a boom, but it'll make it much more enjoyable to shoot.
You're not probably going to get a lot of the carry though with the sound over a long distance because it affects the sound waves, I'm sure, at some point.
It does, and
Right.
it affects your ability to know where that shot is coming from.
We wanted to mention before we wrap up today, quickly, just to let people know again how they can get in touch with the two of you. Todd, Patriot Defense, you're on Facebook.
Yep, I'm on Facebook. You can find me there under Patriot Defense. Like the page. Send me a message if you got any questions. Feel free to comment away. I put a lot of different posts on there. You can text me. You can call me. Area code 620-794-6223. And I got all my podcast equipment together. I'm getting that up and running. I kind of dealt with some computer stuff yesterday before I felt like breaking my computer because I'm sick. I have a cold. I don't function
you're
real
gonna
well.
rival Hickok before you're done with it.
Oh man, it's becoming a little complex, but I'll get it up and running. My goal is next month, so we'll find out.
And of course, Forrest, as we mentioned earlier, more than just firearms, but when it comes to firearms, if people are looking for that choice, you'll be able to work with them individually on their own needs when they come into Washington Street Pawn.
Absolutely, we can get anything you want from suppressors, Class 3 stuff. If you want to get into machine guns, we can help you get one of those. I mean, we've got a couple actually for sale. We got a Mini 14 and a 45 caliber full auto that we're currently selling for someone. So, we can get you just about anything you want legally. Make sure you know all the rules that you have to abide with that. We can get into fun stuff, taut guns, whatever. One thing I'd like to put out there is right now I have a customer looking for a vintage World War II Carcano rifle. That was the Italian battle rifle of World War II. That trivia, Lee Harvey Oswald, that's what he used to assassinate Kennedy. But they're kind of a clunky. They're not a great, definitely not the finest battle rifle to come out of World War II. I do have a customer looking one. So if you've got one in your closet, bring it in the shop. We'd love to buy it from you.
We have to wrap up because we're going to be joining coverage live from Fox at 9:30 from the inauguration of Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States. And that's on the way here in just a few seconds. I want to thank both Forrest and Todd for dropping by today. And hope you all have a great weekend. And God willing, if the creek don't rise, I'll be back in this chair come Monday morning between 8 and 10 o'clock.